special, well actually more than one very special guest. Thank you everybody for coming today. But I would like to present to you retired Colonel Nishika Jardine. Thank you. Is this okay over here?
Yeah, stand in front of the speaker. You want to get big up.
This is my army left. This over there. This is my army right.
That's Air Force left.
Yeah.
Air Force left.
Air Force
Thank
left.
you.
Yeah,
Okay, is this okay? Can you guys hear me back there? I am not used to using a microphone, so still good? Oh, good. That's better.
Yeah.
Amazing to see so many people. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that we are gathered here in Treaty 6 territory, the traditional territory of many First Nations, including the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, and Nakota-Iska peoples, as well as the Métis homeland and the home of one of the largest communities of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. We, in the Office of the Veterans Ombudsman, or Ombud, are a national organization with connections to our military and RCMP members, veterans, and their families all across Canada. And so we further acknowledge our collective presence on the traditional territories of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, whose own presence on this land reaches back to time immemorial. En reconnaissance cet espace, nous avons la responsabilité collective d'honorer, de protéger et de soutenir ces terres. I'd like to introduce my colleague, my special advisor, Lieutenant Colonel retired Jamie Morse, 39 years Royal Canadian Regiment. It's an interesting way to clap. RCR.
Welcome, Jim.
Awesome. So I was Remy. Any Remy folks in there? There we go. That's how it's done. The infantry dudes. That's how it's done. I don't know if you know anything about me, but just very quickly, I served almost 37 years in the Remy Corps, released in 2019, and was appointed the Veterans Ombudsman in November of 2020. And I've been doing this now for that period of time. I had a 5-year appointment, and then they reappointed me for 3 more years. So here I am. So I'm going to just take a few minutes. We're actually here for a really special presentation. But just before we get to that, I'd like to just take advantage of being here to share with you about what our office does. And does anybody know what an ombudsman is, or you've heard this term? Yeah, I didn't know either, and now I am one. So an ombudsman, or ombud, is an independent office who receives complaints from people when they're seeking something from a government or a big organization, like banks have ombuds now, universities have ombuds. Has anyone heard of the D&D CAF Ombudsman, or their office? Right. So we're the Veterans Ombudsman, and so there's no overlap between our two offices. So if you're unhappy about something with respect to your service, let's say for some reason you wanted to have your release item changed, you would go to their office. And if you're seeking and receiving benefits from Veterans Affairs Canada, anybody here doing that? If you're unhappy with a decision you get from Veterans Affairs, you have recourse to our office. But not if you're annoyed about the answer you got on your disability claim.
CYA.
Okay.
CYA.
And I heard that.
We all resemble that.
Yeah,
So, and it's not a CYA. It's our RCR table here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fair. Understood.
Yes.
Has anybody heard of the Veterans Review and Appeal Board?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so if you're denied your disability claim, at the bottom of the letter, if you get that far, it says go to the Bureau of Pension Advocates, right? So the BPA, those are the federally appointed lawyers whose sole purpose in life is to help you prepare your case to appear before the Veterans Review and Appeal Board, and you get two, generally speaking, 2 kicks at the can with the VRAB for your disability claim. And is anybody like put in a claim and was denied, like say 20 years ago?
About 30.
Right. Okay, more than 20.
Yeah.
All right. The VRAB of today is not the VRAB of yesterday. So if you, let's say you were denied a hearing claim, please resubmit. Like, do it. The philosophy of the VRAB has changed significantly. And I see people nodding, and perhaps you know that. That's great. So I can't help you, our office cannot help you with the disability claim because there is the Veterans Review and Appeal Board. For almost everything else, if you're pissed off with that, you can call our office. Is there anyone here from the RCMP? So the RCMP gets their benefits from Veterans Affairs as well under the Pension Act. So if they're annoyed with that, they have recourse to our office as well for anything other than the disability pension. So what kinds of things might you get denied for or have trouble with that? Treatment benefits is our biggest complaint. Like the most frequent complaint we get is if you get denied treatment benefits. Have you been denied treatment benefits?
I'm sorry?
Well, you're having a conversation, you and me, so.
I'm up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Medication's kicking in.
Medication's kicking in, sorry.
Just okay.
Yeah.
So treatment benefits, if you get, like that's the most frequent complaint that we get now. It used to be the disability claim, like wait times. Remember when the backlog was 30,000 claims and people were waiting 2 years to get their claims through? And I know it can still take long, but to give credit where credit is due, the department has made a concerted effort to bring that backlog down, and they're doing a better job of that. At least I hope so. Now, if you put your claim in, and it's been like, 5, 6, 7 months, and you're like, well, where the hell is my claim? And you've gone onto your MyVac account, and it says it's in step 3 or something. Does anybody know what step 3 is?
Decision?
You know what? When I first took this job, it just said step 3, and nobody knew what the step 3 was. And I said, can you at least, on that MyVac system, can you at least say what step 3 is? Because none of us have a freaking clue what the hell step 3 is. Anybody had withdrawn happen? Their claim was withdrawn? And
Yeah, but it did come back.
it came back?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, so VAC speak, withdrawn in VAC speak means not that you withdrew it, but that it's on hold, waiting for information, probably from you. It's like, okay, could you use that? Could we put the explanations please in plain language, not your bureaucratic speak? Would make life, it's difficult, it can be difficult enough, right? Let's correct the little things that don't need to be extra piss-off factors, right? So I think they did change it. We were in Petawawa, I think, a couple of years back, and I was telling this story about a veteran who called me up, and he was literally hopping mad. I could practically see him on the end of the phone. He's like, what is with this withdrawn? I did not withdraw my claim. Like, what the is going on? And so I helped him understand, and that intrigued me to tell VAC that, look, you need to do a better job of communicating with us. And so I think now, and then we were in Petawawa, and this elderly couple, this veteran and his wife, they said, no, you hover over it now and it says on hold. And thank God for that, right?
And usually they will send a letter saying the reason it's on hold.
Oh, that's helpful. That's great. Awesome. Things are getting better. That's good. I'm so glad to know that. So I can't help you with your disability claim, but if it's taking a long time and you're like, I'm not sure what's happening and they got it, I don't understand what I'm reading on the MyVac portal, please give us a call. And with your consent, we can look into your file and we can help you understand whether if something maybe is just in the queue and it's working its way through and everything is fine, or maybe they are waiting for something, or we can help you with that. So feel free to call us, you know, if you're pissed off with that. Sometimes people think that our office, that we are a veterans advocate. We're not. What we advocate for is fairness. So let's say you've been denied a treatment benefit and you call our office or you submit a complaint to us in whichever way you want to do it. What we do is we look at all of the rules. And it's not me that answers the phone, by the way. We have very highly trained analysts whose job it is to do that. If they listen to you, and then they look at the rules, and they determine were you treated fairly in accordance with the rules. And where we find that you've been treated unfairly, we go across to VAC and we say, for veteran so-and-so, they complain to us about this, and in our determination, we find that you've treated them unfairly for this and this reason. Most of the time, like more than 90% of the time, VAC will resolve that unfairness. So that's the one thing that we do. Our bread and butter is to listen to you and to when you're feeling like you've been treated unfairly by VAC on whatever it is that you're approaching VAC for. The second thing we do is where we see these unfairnesses, and maybe it's a systemic problem, we do a deep dive into that. And we write this very academic report and make recommendations to the Minister of Veterans Affairs to resolve that unfairness. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can find them all on our website, and I promise you, our website is a hell of a lot easier to navigate than VAC's. It's straightforward. You can find, oh, thank you. You can find what you're looking for, publications, reports. Anybody here is, you know, you're familiar with mental health treatment, right? And sometimes you get medication for that, right? And there's a side effect to that, maybe more, but one of them is sexual dysfunction, right? Well, on the medical, so if you have a consequence to a condition, so you have PTSDs, for example, you put in your claim, it's approved, you're getting the medication, the treatment, the medication causes a side effect, you can put in for that side effect. It's called a consequential condition. So are you familiar with the medical questionnaire you have to take to your doctor? The doctor fills it out and you send that to VAC. So on the medical questionnaire for sexual dysfunction, or for consequential to PTSD, or whatever one it was, on that form, for the men, there was a question the doctor would ask about sexual dysfunction. And so the men were very easily getting their consequential claims approved. There was no question for women. So the women's consequential claims were not being approved as easily. So we did a report into that, and we made a recommendation to the department to fix that unfairness, and the medical questionnaire now includes a question for women. So that they too, because it affects us all in a similar way. So that's one kind of systemic piece of work that we have done. Another one I'd just like to speak about is mental health supports for families. We say, the military says, the RCMP say, when the member serves, the family also serves, right? And we say this. We did a report in 2021 saying, it is time for government to acknowledge the support that families give to our serving members, and that if they suffer or are impacted, their mental health is impacted because of being part of a military family, then they should be eligible for, or VAC should fund mental health treatment for them in their own right for mental health issues caused by being part of a military family. So at the moment, if you're the veteran and you have a mental health condition and you're in treatment, if your clinician says, well, it'd be really good for your improvement, your well-being, if your family also got mental health treatment, primarily to learn how to deal with you.
That's a lot of treatment.
Certainly if you're RCR.
Yeah.
The shoe fits.
But in all seriousness, VAC does fund that. They will. They skate really, really close to the legislation line because every benefit that we as veterans can get from Veterans Affairs is written in legislation, right? So VAC doesn't make this stuff up. Parliament passed these laws, the Pension Act, the Veterans Wellbeing Act, the Veterans Healthcare Regulations, Veterans Wellbeing Regulations. So if you, like say for example, anybody here familiar with income replacement? IRD, right? And you know that when you turn, if you're diminished earning capacity or debt, you know that when you get to age 65, it drops down to the 70%, right? Well, that's not VAC just being a pain in the butt. It's written in the act. So VAC they can't break the law. This is law. So I just think it's really important for us as veterans to understand where our benefits come from. If you disagree, if you think it's unfair, if you don't like it, and if a bunch of you think that, write to your member of parliament. It's the only way it'll change. Anyway, to get back to treatment benefits for families, there is nothing in that legislation that allows Veterans Affairs to fund mental health treatment for family members when it's apart from the veteran's treatment. So a family that's a veteran and their family that's in therapy for the veteran's mental health, and the family's also getting some treatment or counseling or therapy or whatever it is, whatever their clinician says is right for them. Let's say the veteran passes away. In that moment, the family's cut off because the veteran is no longer in treatment. Like at the worst moment of their lives, that's when it ends. And we recognized this back in 2021. And our recommendation that government do whatever needs to be done in the legislation to provide this benefit for our family members when their mental health is affected by being part of a service family. That was our recommendation to the Minister of Veterans Affairs. If you think this is important, please write to your member of parliament. Because I've done my bit, like we've done our bit, and I talk about this, I have talked about it from coast to coast. Jamie and I have been to every single military base, major base, we didn't make it to Wayne, right, in the country. We've talked to commanders, and we've said, your folks, the way you can help your folks is you gotta make sure that the boo-boos are on the service health records. So do the CF98s, go to the MIR when you're not well or you've had an injury, and yeah, I know. There's many who don't, because, God forbid they can't fly their planes or whatever. Fair. On your release, medical insure that you come clean on all the parts that don't work or are painful or whatever. Because Veterans Affairs, when they're gonna look at your claim when you come back in however many years and say, I'd like to claim this whatever, the only evidence they've got to connect it to your military service, like you don't get a claim, you can't get a claim approved just because you fell off your P&Q cleaning the gutters on a Saturday morning. That is not related to military service, right? Wiping out on a run on a Sunday morning, that is connected to military service. So the first thing they're going to do is look through your service health records. It's helpful if it's there. If it isn't, because sometimes, the records aren't there, and probably many of you, like me, grew up in the military with the suck it up buttercup ethos, right? And didn't want to be the MIR commando or the sick bay ranger, pains just weakness leaving the body, right? So you didn't go. You didn't fill out the CF-98. It wound up in the drawer in the CO's office someplace, right? Anyway, we've been across the country to remind commanders that they need to do better for their folks. We've been to MFRCs and transition centers, and we've held town halls very much like this. And we've spoken to veterans. The thing that's the most, in my view, the thing that affects veterans the most today is the lack of family doctors. Just like our fellow Canadians, right? We're caught in that same thing. What makes a difference for us as veterans is that if you don't have a diagnosis, you can't put in that claim. And if you don't have a claim, that's kind of the gateway to all the other benefits, right? Right? You can't get treatment, you can't get VIP if you don't have an approved claim. So we have heard from veterans who can't even get prescriptions filled. Like, we're not talking about prescriptions for Tylenol, we're talking about PTSD medicine, right? That they need. That they can't get prescribed from the OSI clinic because it's got to be done by their family doctor. And this is like the biggest challenge facing veterans today, and Veterans Affairs can't do anything about it. What they have done, though, is in partnership with the CAF, they've made it so that newly releasing veterans, like in the past 3-4 years, Jamie?
Since 25. Yeah.
Since 25. Oh no, more than that, we're 26.
Yeah.
2-3 years anyway. When you get out now, if you don't have a family doctor, they will pay for you to have the telemedicine. And you guys don't have telemedicine here in Alberta, right? Private telemedicine? Or you've not heard of it? I think, well, it exists, and I think veterans releasing in Alberta can get access to it somehow, because it's all across Canada. So they get that for the first 2 years or until they get a family doctor for both them and their families, which is fantastic, because they can then get what they need. But the veteran who got out 10 years ago with severe PTSD after serving in Afghanistan, who went to his OSI clinic because it was getting worse, and the psychiatrist said, well, you need this medicine. And the OSI clinic can't prescribe it because they got to be followed by a family doctor, because they got to figure out the dosage and how you do, and he's got to be followed on a regular basis. He was unable to get his medication because he didn't have a family doctor. And so to me, that's like one of the most acute issues facing veterans today. These are the things that we hear, that we've heard all across the country. And I've spoken a bit about how VAC communicates with us. I'll just suffice to say that they need to do a better job of communicating with us in the way that we expect to be communicated with. So bottom line up front, not like on a veteran received an overpayment letter years ago, where she got this letter. It says, "Dear veteran, so-and-so, blah, 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 made a mistake, regret to inform you, blah, blah, $270,000. She stopped reading there, thankfully called our office. Now I read this letter, and it wasn't until the bottom of the second page or top of the third where it said, and you don't have to pay it back. So she could have been saved a ton of distress, right? Like huge amount of distress if the letter had said in plain English or French, "Dear veteran so-and-so, we've made a mistake, we've overpaid you this amount, but you don't need to pay it back." Right? They just could read the rest of the letter with all the legal mumbo jumbo that they have to put in there, because they have to do that. And I've been asking the department for the last 4 years, for the love of God, do a better job of communicating with us. We lived with situation, mission, execution, right? You knew where to be, at what time, wearing what clothes, to do what mission, and if you were 10 minutes early, you were 5 minutes late, right? They need to talk to us that way. They need to communicate with us that way. Plain language. You can save the bureaucratic stuff for further down or somewhere else, I don't know. But trust. trust is a huge factor for us, right? If you didn't trust your buddy to cover his arcs of fire, or hers, you know, that was no good. So we all learned to be trustworthy in our teams. Because how the hell else was the mission going to be done, right? Trust is huge for us. And when you know, some of us don't have an easy time of asking for help. Going to bat is asking for help. Some of us struggle with that. And if you don't feel you can trust them, that makes it harder still. If there's friction in asking for that help, it can feel like betrayal. And we're in a fight to the death, right? You all know that. So what our office does is we know that you as a veteran, and even as your family, are going to be a lifelong relationship with Veterans Affairs. Now, Veterans Affairs, who's Veterans Affairs, right? Big, nameless government department in Ottawa. No, they're in Charlottetown, parts in Ottawa. These are public servants. They're your fellow Canadians. They're good people. You know, it's not their calling to work for veterans, but they're honored to work for veterans. Do they get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely. And when they do, you've got the VRAB for the disability claim, and for the other things, if you feel like they've treated you unfairly, or that, you know, they got this wrong, we're here for you for that. And the way we approach our work is we want to reconnect you to the department, because you're going to be in a lifelong relationship with VAC if you're receiving benefits. And, you know, it goes right to the end, and then your families maybe. So that's the way we approach our work. It's from this place of trust, of reconnecting veterans who are pissed off, that they feel they've been treated unfairly, to acknowledge that there was a mistake, resolve that unfairness, and then reconnect you back to this department. So that's what we do, in a nutshell. I'm going to stop there. This is our, you know, I'm here from Charlottetown, I'm here to help you, kind of thing. And I would like to, and just to let you know, Jamie and I will be here. We'll stay, if you have questions you want to ask us personally, like if you've got a personal question, please